Hi, I'm Gary Smith, and we're back with part 2 of our two-part series speaking with Pat Butler and Bob Sternberg and how they're working with Dome and Homeworthy. Those are two companies that Bob runs. He's in Australia. Pat is here in the U.S., so we'll jump right in. Tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing that would help an inspection firm that wants to push pre-listing inspections.
Okay, yeah, that's a great question, Gary. Thank you. I've for many years, for the last 10 or 15 years, been doing pre-sale condition reporting for sellers as a service, because I'm a privatised code official here in Australia for the last 20 years. So I will get engaged by the seller to prepare their house and do all the unauthorised structures and get them all sorted out. So that fed into the seller side, and a home inspector can do a better job, I think, in the industry with the new way of doing things. So you see listed in Facebook and all that sort of thing, pre-listing, pre-inspected, pre-sale. It's sort of the flavour of the month, if you like, but it's been around for many, many years. Indonesian buyback had that move-in certified, as Pat's been promoting. So on that seller side, we can certainly assist in Dome.
What are the key factors? What is the number one thing? If I were to think of Dome, I would think of that property, that report management software, right?
Well, the simple thing is that we can upload a redacted copy without sensitive client information for the seller, assist with the real estate agent's marketing, put a shortened link up there, and any interested buyer then can download that information for free.
So your system strips the data, their name, their address, their phone number of the client. Yeah. And the only data that is on the report then that is shown to prospective purchasers is the address,
the inspector's name and the address. That's it.
And the data about the property.
Yes.
Bedroom count. That's bathroom count, et cetera, et cetera.
It's not a reduced report, if you like. It's very similar to a buyer report. And really, a pre-listed or pre-sale report in general terms is more comprehensive, to give that full report, full discussion, but don't release the clients. That's paramount to us.
Let me ask you this knee-jerk question. Have you had any pushback from agencies, meaning real estate sales, in certain states or in certain countries, since you're from your country?
Yeah.
Have you had any pushback from real estate agencies?
Not at all, Gary.
That deal with disclosure.
Yeah, if I'd like to go ahead, since I'm pretty much here in the U.S.
Yeah.
The answer to simplify that is yes and no. There has been a pushback, but the pushback has become from lack of information. The number one thing that most agents and their legal counsel is telling them is the fear of disclosure. That they don't want to, for two reasons. The agent don't want to get hemmed up for withholding information, but also they think that naturally, if there's any defects that are known ahead of the property listing, it devalues that property. So these are two intuitive fears, natural built-in fears that most agents have as far as a pre-sale listing. But let's look at how it's happened as in the past. What has happened? Well, we don't disclose it. We say we don't know, and then any inspector worth their salt, no matter what standard of practice that they're going to do, if they're going to get into that crawl space, or get into that attic, and they're going to find structural issues, i.e. termites or settlement or what have you. Now it's disclosed within that 10-day window, 10 to 12 days, depending on what area, what state that you're dealing with. And now you only have those remaining 4 or 5 days to come up with a resolution, or the deal falls apart. This has been the crux of the modern home purchase cycle. That, you know what I'm saying? So it depends on the home inspector whether, if the home inspector is going to give it a good report. Is the house going to pass everything? Because if not, now everybody's jumping through hoops with a very little time window to make any type of resolutions. So let's turn this puppy around for a second. And this is where, when I first started with the pre-sales and moving certified, I went directly to different chapters and even state association realty boards and say, hey, this is the process that we're proposing. Do you have a problem with this? Do you have a problem with that? And, you know, as far as all the other features, and Homeworthy included, has said, okay, we see that there's a problem, and now has changed the model so that now it makes it more palatable for that real estate agent. So now what you have as far as 2018 is a system that will definitely help the agent sell that house with very little problems of disclosure, because now you can have it written into your inspection agreement. Says, hey, the seller has to disclose all the information. They have to see the report, which was one big thing. Now that we have that, and we can either A, get these big things fixed, or write off the little things and now present this house. Now you also have, for the real estate agent, a vehicle now that they can push this house out and show it to the market space with very little cost compared to the 4,000 or 5,000 that some real estate agents are selling. They're advertising their listings on other services for thousands of dollars a month, when you can do it for literally pennies through social media. And now they can actually see the report. They can see if there's been a termite inspection, is there warranties, and all they have to do is post it onto their social media sites, or they can send it out as a text message if they're doing an open house and say, hey, would you like to see this listing? Here, give me your phone number, and you can send it directly to their phone through the DOME process. So now we're giving an agent a new tool in their tool set to list properties and get homes sold that much faster with very little disclosure.
Let me ask you a question. What do you have an area of the U.S. where this is an accepted practice?
It's pretty much accepted all over. It's, you know, with different agents and different inspectors, it flourishes in markets. Depends on who, you know, who is. I know that speaking of Preston, Sandlin, and Dave Clymer with their pre-sale system, you know, they're going to be able to sell it in their market. They have a very
and their market is so that we understand, so that our listeners can understand their market, because everyone doesn't know them. That's going to be South Carolina, North Carolina.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember where Dave is. I think he's in. Well, I know he's here in the Midwest. I can't remember exactly which state. He's a big Michigan fan, so I was associated with that.
Right.
But no, I have guys in Missouri that's doing it, guys in as far west as California, and then there's guys down in Florida who that's doing this process, and agents that understand the process is eating it up. And the reason I ask that is basically because, you know, some of our listeners are inquiring with their local market and they're getting some pushback. They're going to need to call for some support. Yeah. So I'm just wondering if you guys can give them some stats. So that's basically the reason for my asking, was in order to be able to deliver and grow the thing you are trying to grow. Obviously, you're going to want to give them some support. Yes, and, they could easily give me a call. I tell everybody, if they ever have any questions, the easiest way is to instant message me through Facebook, because that's the quickest way.
or a contact from the web page. You know, just do an inquiry on the web page, and we can get back to them straight away. That's why I guess between Pat and I working together, we're 24/7 anyway to answer a question.
There we go.
You know.
Yeah.
Get what I mean?
So the follow up, just to kind of get the concept, you guys have a platform that will allow an inspector to do a pre-listing inspection, upload a report to a website that you're calling Dome. That Dome then has the ability to have subcontractors and real estate agents also a part of the process.
Yes,
tell me
Gary,
how that
I'm
works.
glad you asked.
Yeah, tell me how that works.
So Dome is the office management. Now they can be many different users, which we have. We have architects, we have builders, we have real estate agents, we have property managers. They're all using Dome here, particularly in Australia. And that's anyone connected with that property, maintenance-wise, property management, condition, getting quotes. We have that full service of all the different users working together and sharing files with permissions, only if they give permission. Other users outside of your own dashboard can't see what you've done, but you can help your client seek further information from another Dome user, or you can tender.
So the inspector gives permission, or who controls the permission to see a report?
Whoever set up the file in the first place. So it might be a real estate agent,
the author of the owner of the report, so to speak. Yeah. Okay.
That's right. Yeah. Or alternatively, it might be a service that the home inspector is branched out into other areas and doing a condition report for the property manager. The property manager is his client, so he gives them the report. He can give that in a redacted form to the property manager. The property manager can then seek repairs from their preferred contractors who are in Dome easily and simply through the tender process. That's another feature. There's a lot of features in Dome that I won't touch on.
So so back to sharing the report with specific people. Do I, as a home inspector, need to place a tick mark or something beside each individual person that I want to have access to this report? Or can I set up a group of people?
You can, but primarily it's by email to the Dome user.
Okay.
Individual on an individual basis, so that we're not opening up any chance of that information being used by someone unauthorized. It's by request each time. So a real estate agent may wish to share their video footage of the flyover in their marketing, and that we can then use with repair price for data points, that sort of thing.
So does the real estate agent share specific data, or does the home inspector only allow the agent to see the video, the subcontractor to see the repair request, et cetera, down the line? How does that work?
It's up to the author to share what they wish.
I see.
By consent of the client. You can't just go in there and simply download a whole file of a previous, unless you're the author. Now, we have some permissions in there if the author has gone out of business or whatever. Through formalized requests, we can access that, so that we're legitimizing those sort of things. But it's the author always that is in control of their own data.
And that data has a lifetime. What's the life cycle of that data? When does it get deleted? Does it ever get deleted? Is it there forever?
No, it doesn't. It's there forever because we need that property history. And that's what our intent is through Dome, is to give that live history from date of inception or from subdivision right through to demolition of that property.
And who owns it? Does the inspector own it, or does the owner own it?
the author owns it, and we supply within the subscription the storage fees. We through the subscription, the user.
So I pay you to keep
covered.
it. Yeah.
Yes,
so
that's
I pay
right.
you to keep it.
So
I've
what
got
we
this
do,
data. I've got this report. I'm going to pay you to keep it for me forever. I'm going to be able to sell this data potentially. What's the? Tell me. Have you talked about that?
We don't.
No?
We don't sell data at all.
Okay.
It's the user's own information. All they simply do within their subscription, and the subscription starts at $50 odd a month.
Okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Other than the free tiers.
Mm-hmm.
What we do is then archive those. If it's an older property, that goes into storage. So it may, if you're looking at a property that's 10 years old,
right,
it might take you 24 hours to get it out of storage if you request that archive. Because obviously, from a business point of view, I don't want to be paying the cloud storage for things.
Sure. So in that scenario, you'd have 123 Maple Street that I did an inspection for 8 years ago. Someone calls me in because I have data that Dome captures for me. I can see that I did that inspection 8 years ago, and I might need to pull that old report up or potentially use that data in some way, and it's there for for availability.
Yes, so it may take you 12 hours or 24 hours to get that out of archive, because we've put that away. It's not live anymore, right? But it's still there in the dashboard, so you can extract it. You might get a scenario of, and I've had it 5 years ago. Did a pre-purchase inspection for a client. Well, then I got engaged to do after they'd fixed everything up and they're doing an auction now. I got engaged to do that report for the pre-sale prior to auction. Yet my client 5 years ago was the buyer. He only regrets his son didn't follow my advice and not buy the heap of crap, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, he spent a lot of money on it, and now I've just done the pre-sale for his upcoming auction. So I was able to merge all those with the flyer and the pest report that I received from the other Dome user, right? Merge all that together and put it as a link.
Are you able to monetize this data?
No, I'm not. No.
Are you able
not at all?
Are you able to resell that data to someone else who's purchasing?
Why would we? No. It's we don't resell data. What it is through your subscription, it's a free service. All these features that I'm talking about is free service. For all it costs me is if we're going to send out a text, the real estate agent or the home inspector might send the link by text. It might cost you 6 cents.
Yeah. If I could, I like to take one step and see if I can finally drive a stake into the heart of this issue, because I think as that particular insight or perspective has greatly diminished the ability of inspectors to grow, because they're so afraid of this mishandling of data. So I finally want to kill this demon where it stands. It's against everybody's standard of practice to sell information off of their inspection report. It don't matter what organization you belong to, no matter what state license you're from. It is illegal to sell data from your clients as a third party. It can't be done. If you're doing it, the last thing you have to worry about is where this information is going to be posted. You can print it off on a document and post it and sell it for a nickel and still be in the same trouble. What this does is gives you the ability to share the information across multiple platforms. Think of it as a LinkedIn just for building inspectors, contractors, real estate agents, and all features of a interested parties that are helping you maintain that house. We can share information. If you are helping somebody fix it, for example, like a 203K, you can help manage. If you want to manage it, this is a vehicle for you. If you want to do a pre-sale inspection as part of your package, this will help you. If you want to do the traditional and work for a potential buyer, this is for you. You just now have the ability to take all that information based off the property's location, put it in one centralized location so you don't have it at 15 different spots where you have to access and maintain information. And you can do that for as little as $4 a month for everything, and that you can send it everywhere. And then every time you pull back, you have a wealth of information that you can go back on, even if it was a question of what was done wrong at that time, because somebody may have did something wrong or miswired or did an improper attachment to a particular property. You have at that time, hey, this is what we found at this time of the inspection, and you can go back to that with 100% certainty. That's the purpose and the advantage of working with Dome. Not to sell anybody's property. If you're trying to sell property, you're in the wrong line of work, period.
Data. Yeah.
So what is preventing that from happening? Nothing is preventing that from happening. If it's a for sale by owner, there's not an agent involved, and I, as a Dome user, do an inspection on a pre-sale.
Yes.
I have the data about that house. The seller gives the purchaser my information and says, call Gary, he's been to see this house. Then I can turn around. There's nothing preventing me from turning around and offering the report to the purchaser.
Well,
that's right. Well,
is that correct? I mean, I have the ability to download that report just like I would if it were just if Dome wasn't involved in it. If I'd never met you guys and I have a report at 123 Maple Street and it's a for sale by owner, and I did a pre-listing inspection, I have data about that house. I can turn around and sell that data to someone else. Is that?
If you're unscrupulous,
have you run into that? Have you run into that situation?
No. I think out of the 30,000 inspectors across the country that I have the privilege of meeting, and I'd say that, I've been blessed, especially in the last couple of years, to work, talk, drink beers, and just communicate with a lot of them. This is a very honest and reputable profession, and people try to do it with the best of their ability and the highest of intentions. Now, if you want to have an unscrupulous, because there are people out there, there's that old saying, we're all on one big planet. You had everybody from the lowest of the low to the highest of high. We all occupy the same, big blue ball or marble in space. If you want to look at it from that part, yes, there's going to be somebody who's unscrupulous that can easily, just as you could with Dome, go onto your Yahoo or your Gmail account and do the exact same thing. The process is not the enemy. What is somebody's intention. Can you mathematically do something unscrupulous? Yeah, you can do it anything. You can send it through the mail. You still have the federal government to deal with because you deal with mail fraud, but it can be done. But let's move away from that and get back to the nature of improving businesses for existing inspectors, finding a simple way for new inspectors to improve their business or establish their business and create a network where they can be the subject matter expert for the entire life cycle of a property, from its inception to its destruction. You can now be that house doctor for that piece of property, no matter who owns it. You don't have to share their data. They're not being sold by a third person. And that's what Bob tried to specifically build into it. That's why if you use the reporting software, it will create the initial report that you do for your client, but with no effort, it will produce a redacted copy so that you're protecting that client's information, is what we are actually trying to do in the first place.
So let's talk about, for a second, the versions of that data. In the green room before the show, you had mentioned something about marking up a PDF and having specific PDFs have different versions for potential legal work or any other kind of work that you might do into the future?
Yeah, thanks, Gary, for asking. The Homeworthy reporting app has many features, and it communicates back to Dome, which is the dashboard. Now, you can set your business up with any form, any PDF fillable form, match it, map the fields, and do all your work out on an iPad or a tablet, right? So technology's been around for the last 10 years with that. So we've incorporated that so you don't have to go out to other programs to do those functions. So we've built that in within Dome. The other added benefit is you may be a single home inspector or a multi-inspector. You want consistency in everything you do and accuracy. So instead of trying to quote codes or manufacturer's requirements, all that sort of thing, I developed the markup tool, which essentially on the dashboard, you put all your references, your manufacturer's requirements, your waterproofing details, all those sorts of things in a PDF. And on site, I can refer to all those references, mark them up. So capture the screen very easily, just like a photograph, and mark them up with a highlight pen or a red pen. Now, what that simply does is time and date stamps it. So visually, I'm now showing the courts if there's a problem that, or I'm giving evidence in a court from expert witness point of view. I've got a photograph of the defect. I've shown them a detail of the wet area shower installation that should have been done properly. This is why it's leaking, with a comment, all time and date stamped with a recommendation. So visually, what you've done is you haven't had to spend all that time writing a page of explanation. You've just taken it simply from the manuals, marked it up, highlighted the fact, and moved on.
So it streamlines your work, yeah.
Yeah, and it time and date stamps everything to Greenwich Mean Time, so it doesn't matter where you're in the world. That's a PDF, and within the system we have three functions. We can either redact the information or approve it. Now, the approval button actually flattens everything, and I believe I'm the only report writing software that has two signature powers. So on the iPad, you preview the report with your client, have a walkthrough. This is what I've established, and I have the client sign on before I generate that report. So it's time and date stamped with two signatures.
So you're basically saying that you're either initialing or signing that we did a review.
Yes, and you're confirming that we went through that, and we walked through and we did that. Now the other added advantage of using Dome is that I can pick that first report up, load it, and then attach it to the next inspection if I'm doing a walkthrough with the buyer and confirming that the repairs have been done. And I can, because I've got that markup tool, I can compare before and after photos from the first PDF
and either sign each one that you've been there and you accepted it personally, or whatever your method is.
Yeah, and that's the basis of anything in business. Anything to do with the building industry, there's always a contract, whether verbal, written, or whatever, that there's always two parties to it.
Yeah, and that's the Homeworthy side of it. So you guys do that through an app?
Yes, it's available on iOS and Google.
And
Google Play.
iPad and iPhone both?
No, because we're managing PDFs and marking up, the phone is just too difficult because we're dealing with plans, reference material, the screen size. Look, I have looked at that, but I think I don't like being interrupted by the phone when I'm trying to do something on the phone.
Sure. So it's available through iPad mainly and
Android
laptop, tablet.
And Android tablet, yes. And then you can manipulate your Dome platform.
And we're gonna have the link to your software and to your website in the show notes
Yes.
Tell everyone about how to get you. What's the best way?
The easiest way, I'll get Pat to post up his link to the webpage, but where my webpage is homeworthyinspections.com. Simply homeworthyinspections.com. You can go in there. There's how-to videos on every function. There's pricing there. But simply, you have to register your Dome account first, verify it, and set up your Dome. Add your user as the inspector, then download your app, and away you go. Okay.
And work Homeworthy after you've gone through the Dome first.
Don't just go to the App Store or Google Play and download the app. That's just the reporting tool. Set up your Dome first, create your new account, verify it by email or mobile phone.
Yeah, well done.
And do that first, and add now the serious thing is that we have built this not per user. Like if you're a multi-inspector firm, you could, at the top level, have unlimited users to have all the full functions. But where that comes into play is all your PDF references. You can ensure that your multi-inspector firms or your trainees, your students, and I will just remind me, Gary, I will touch on what Pat's doing. It's exciting. But you can have unlimited users within that Dome account, and everyone's reporting consistently. And that's the key thing, is that you can brand yourself to be consistent throughout your organization by doing the standard process,
Very good.
And if I'm working in a team, let's say a lot of people, like I'm in commercial inspection area as well. I may have an electrical engineer working with me, a HVAC guy, a architect, an engineer, and myself doing a dilapidation report on a major commercial. They can all do their report as a different part, and then I can merge that together as documents and put an executive summary and that. So, the largest report I just recently did was merged 277 pages.
Very good.
With a link, and I'm not printing a piece of paper off.
Yeah, very good.
In the last 6, yeah. So now, can I just digress one little bit and give Pat a plug? Why Homeworthy is working with Pat. Homeworthy's ambition in this world, if you like, because we're a small community now with social media. I'm talking to you in America from Australia, Sunday morning. So why is Homeworthy supporting Pat Butler? Someone may ask. You may ask. Well, Homeworthy...
Inquiring minds want to know.
Okay, the inquiring minds can know this, and I'll expose it to the world, if you like. Pat impresses me with his ability to train organically. And I'm not being disparaging there. Pat has a following where he just lives to try and teach younger home inspectors. And that's me in a nutshell. I want to promote our profession that's been very kind to me over the years, for 35 years, and I've trained 26 cadets in my field, putting back more than what I've taken out. So my objective here is to have a system that will enable students to learn as well. And Pat is setting up an academy, which I'm excited about, and that's why Homeworthy is supporting Pat in his endeavours. So Homeworthy will support any student. And I say this quite clearly, that if you're coming into the industry, gather information from the veterans. We're here there to help this next generation. So my commitment to Pat, and I've said to him on many occasions, I will help you with your academy, online academy I'm talking about, incorporating all different facets of the industry. And Homeworthy is there to provide a free account to any student within that academy, so that we can train people, the next generation. We need to look at that. And that's what Homeworthy is supporting Pat with. I could have affiliated with any commercial identity in America and just exploded ads. We want to grow organically, and I want to do it properly. The proper way of me handing over to the next generation is to assist in education. That's why I've been in education for the last 15, 20 years. So that's all I wanted to say is Pat is registering. He's registered, he's set up, and we're working. And I'll just say that Vegas recently, my trip to Vegas was very beneficial because we've got some key people that are interested in our motivation towards the academy, Pat's Academy. People of quality, veterans like Willie Stanbro, Christopher Murphy, young fellow that's progressive. We've got many, Chris. Pat can probably tell you a little bit more in time, but we've got key people being positioned to assist the next generation. And that's what's exciting from the point of view of Homeworthy, is that we're able to promote the next generation and all work together to have some consistency and professionalism. And if that's what we've achieved, it's been well worth it, Gary.
Good deal. Pleasure talking to you guys. It's exciting stuff. I know we talked to Pat earlier, and it was good to visit with both of you. Good to meet you, Bob, and good to see you again, Pat. And for our listeners, talk soon.